Hello and welcome to the first episode of the AI era. In this podcast, I, Kasralian, will be talking about why we are at an important junction in the history of humanity and how we should deal with it. We are entering a new era where humans don't have a monopoly on intelligence. We are entering the AI era. Since the first time that I encountered the AI concept as a kid by reading Isaac Asimov's science fiction, till right now that I'm personally engaged in developing AI products and models, I have continuously asked myself what the world would look like when AI becomes widespread and integrated to our lives. This podcast is the result of my investigations to answer that question. In each episode of this podcast, I will focus on one particular aspect of our life that will be remarkably impacted by AI. But before that, in this very first episode, I want to talk about why AI is something everyone should know about and be prepared for. In a conversation that I had with a friend a while ago, he asked, why do I continue calling the emergence of AI a conjunction in the history of humanity? And why do I encourage people to know and learn about it? His point of view was that AI is pretty much like most of the other technologies, like smartphones, for example. After all, it wasn't like that everyone should have been an expert in smartphones when they started to appear. People just gradually started to adopt them and they didn't need to learn that much to do so anyway. So what's the difference here? Why would AI be a junction in the history of humanity? Why isn't it just the technology that people gradually learn about and adopt? Well, my friend's argument is pretty much right in the case of most of the technological changes we experience in our lifetime. But this technology is by no means like the ones we experienced before. Why is that? Well, let me explain. Let's start with a trip back to history, to the Industrial Revolution. Imagine you're a farmer in the early 19th century and machinery like mechanical reapers and steam-powered tractors are starting to appear. Some of your neighbors are using these technologies and you can see their harvest is doubling or even tripling. For any reason, you have not yet adopted these new tools. The result? Your neighbors are becoming richer and richer compared to you, but you're still doing okay. It is just them getting better, not you getting worse. About 100 years and 3 generations later, your family hasn't adopted the industrial tools, as it was your legacy to keep things the way they already work and not to mess with old established practices of agriculture. The extra production of your neighbors over these years has pushed the prices down for crops, and your grandchildren are not doing okay anymore. They should sell half of your lands to pay some debts and buy the industrial tools to increase the harvest to keep up. With that sequence of events, your grandchildren are now living in a lower class of income compared to that of your neighbors. A technology that once provided a competitive advantage has gradually become a necessity that no one can avoid. If we go back to the 15th century, we see a similar pattern. The communication revolution was just enabled by the printing press. Previously, books were copied by hand, which made them rare and expensive. But in the 15th century, Gutenberg's invention reduced the cost of producing books. And those who didn't learn to read and benefit from this new technology missed out on an explosion of knowledge that fueled the Renaissance and changed society forever. In other words, because of failure to adopt a new technology, they missed the next wave of progress, the Renaissance. Of course, this story isn't unique to the Industrial Revolution or the Communication Revolution. It has been recurring over the course of history time and again, starting with technologies as old as the wheel, all the way to modern time technologies like the internet. Fast forward to today, we are living through the AI revolution that is moving at an unbelievable speed. Unlike the gradual changes of the past, AI is advancing at an unprecedented rate. What took decades to happen during the Industrial Revolution is happening in years, and even months now. For every technological advancement, there are 3 periods of adoption. If you would adopt the technology during the first period, it will give you a competitive edge. If you adopt it during the second, you will keep up with it and grow with it. Finally, if you don't embrace the technology during the second period, you will be left behind and suffer by missing it. Each of these 3 periods is going to be rather short in the AI revolution. Very likely not more than 4 years each. In other words, if you miss the upcoming 4 years, you will be missing the opportunity to get ahead. And if you miss the next 8 years, you will suffer the consequences. So that's the first aspect that makes the AI revolution so different. Just by looking at the technological advancements of AI, you would be surprised by the rate of progress. But even more importantly, you would be astonished to see how this rate of progress is accelerating. Groundbreaking papers in the AI that were published every decade are now being published every year. But the fast pace of the AI revolution is not the only reason everyone should care about it. It just emphasizes that there is not that much time to adopt, and people should act fast in order to avoid being left behind. The most important reason is that the AI revolution is going to be the most comprehensive and all-inclusive technological advancement humanity has ever seen. Its scope is not going to be confined to one industry or region or vertical. It is going to change education, transportation, healthcare, manufacturing, entertainment, agriculture, finance, human relationships, and simply put, everything. And the change is not going to be just a gradual and trivial impact on those fields. It is going to redefine them entirely. Take transportation, for example. AI will revoke the concept of the driver altogether. If you think about education, what is taught and how it's taught would be completely obsolete soon. And the story is the same for other industries as well. None of the previous technologies had such a wide scope and scale of impact. Think of your job now. I argue that what you do and how you do it is going to be remarkably different in 8 years, regardless of what you're doing now. And this is the most important reason why everyone should care about AI advancements. It is going to change the way everyone is living, and combined with the fact that it is happening in such a short period of time, you can see why I constantly promote AI literacy. With all that said, it is important to keep in mind that despite the achievements of humanity as a whole, human nature and our brain's wiring haven't changed at all. We adapt slowly and often resist change. But society as a collective of us humans has changed and is changing so much. This creates a gap between our natural tendencies and the need to stay current with new tools. Farmers had a century to adopt the Industrial Revolution tools on a full scale. Our parents had some 30 years to adapt to computers, some 15 years to adapt to the internet, and even less so for smartphones. And you can see some of them actually failed to fully adapt to smartphones even now. Of course, not embracing new technologies doesn't simply mean losing opportunities. It could also do direct harm. For example, less tech-savvy people are 5 times more likely to be victims of online phishing. One of my objectives in this podcast will be to help fewer people be left behind in this new technological revolution, and hopefully enable some to gain a competitive advantage through it. I am Kasralin, and you just listened to the first episode of the AI era. Stay tuned for the next episode. Until then, adapt and evolve.